How are you all doing today? I hope all is well. So I'm gonna give it a couple seconds to just breathe, you know. Starting off with gratitude, being grateful for the intelligence that we have, being grateful that there's different positive forces out there that are rooting for us somehow, some soul matrix put this intelligent design of life there for us to grow and thrive through the polarities of strife and destruction. There's an opportunity to keep going. There's new different supports to keep going. There's new different supports to move through the pain. So if we focus on that, that could make the journey a little better. And obviously, the adage of where your attention goes, energy goes, right? So the attention that we have, where your attention goes, energy goes. The collective attention, it's swayed away from God's children finding their spiritual mission, right? Because when God's children find their spiritual mission, it's kind of averse and opposed to the general masses and what they're kind of like just dished out and what's just engineered casually from the quote unquote anti-soul matrix, end quote. And on an energetic level, the anti-soul matrix, it's not necessarily good or bad at the start, but within different, magnitudes of different new experiments and concoctions of different quote unquote detrimental energies and motives and, beings, end quote, then the anti-soul matrix can be, there could be some disaster there, right? So attention goes where your attention goes, that's where your energy flows, right? So we have a new gratitude to thank our intelligence for it to kind of lean us towards putting our new attention towards an energy we'd like to work with, right? So as we're putting that attention to the energy we have to work with, the trick about it is we have to have a unique consistency within the unique energy work that we're doing. So it's a unique consistency because just like a plant needs water to grow, the attention is likened to the water where we need that nutrient packed dense attention of the quote unquote holy waters of quote unquote good energies, end quote. We need to put that good energy on the things that we would like to work with and focus on, right? So I say that's important because that's kind of like the mental starting point for how we could pick ourselves up in the collective chaos. Because if the programs are going to do what it's going to do, and the different higher beings and their different contexts and their different versions of themselves, they're going to do what they're going to do, then we're likened to something of just like, a sail on a boat, right? Like the attention that we have, it's something like a sail, right? So we're using that sail to navigate the matrix of this now, right? And the thing, and within my critical thinking, respectively, when you hear the saying that all you have is now, I think there's a niche paradox behind that, because God's time and this surface level matrix time, they're kind of different, right? Like all you have is now. That's not necessarily true. Things are in this surface level physical matrix. things are in a state of material change and quote unquote combustion and different types of just like interactions where new circumstances and new phenomena will occur in the future, because that's the nature of the physical matrix. It's like all we have is now, but we still have to anticipate the change of the future, right? So even though that's true, all we have is now, and all that in the present, like I'm trying to critically think and break down the present moment, right? There's a paradox within the present moment because they say all we have is now, right? But at the same time, as we're processing the insight that all we have is now, when we're processing that insight, tomorrow will still come, right? And the next day will still come, and the next day will still come. So the things that are there with you right now, the things that are eternally everlasting within the changing of the moments, that's God's timing. So God's timing is always here, right? God's timing of just like where everything is quote unquote supposedly here right now in the present, right? Supposedly. But that's the thing, that's God's timing and energy that we have to work with, because we're working for the physical matrix so we could barter and arrange our time, right? So if we're working with the physical matrix to barter and arrange our physical time, then for the shit that is eternal and everlasting, then we have to work with God's timing to respect the shit that's always going to be here in the present. But the paradox is, and there's a couple different paradoxes obviously too, respectively. The paradox is like all we have, the thing that's every time I hear when they say all we have is now, everything is in the present moment, every time I hear that, we have to include critical thinking of simultaneously the paradox is that is true, but that isn't true because everything is in transit in the physical matrix. So if everything is in transit in the physical matrix, then we're participating and working for the physical matrix, and we're unconscious to God's timing of the shit of just soul energies, of how beyond the physical matrix there's like, you know, a secret God universe or whatever that we click in and out of, and we click out of it because we're like ordained, and we're what do you call that, we're quote unquote obliged end quote to the physical matrix, right? Because you're here, right? So if you're here and you're still bartering and exchanging with the physical matrix, and then you hear that everything is in the present and everything is here and now, then that's a simultaneous paradox where there's a dual work that has to be done. And the dual work is because if we're working for the physical matrix to get things and just be, and there's a different soul matrix, then wouldn't you think we would have to work for the soul matrix just to kind of like regulate the soul energies? And I wrote a bunch of notes, and this is kind of rough and raw. But the thing is, it's like the soul matrix that we're fucking with. That's the thing. It's like we're fucking with the soul matrix, right? Simultaneously, we're in a physical matrix, and that physical matrix is something of a quote unquote cosmic clock, end quote. And it's a system of different mechanisms and gears that has, and the threshold is like kind of transiting it from the soul matrix. So the soul matrix is there, this quote unquote timelessness, right? God's time, whatever. And then somehow, apparently, it all comes from some type of soul matrix. And then that soul matrix is reflecting upon the physical matrix, and that physical matrix is making something of a different type of physical solidified time construct, right? So we're going through physical time is what I'm trying to drive home. We're going through physical time. So what does that mean? If we're going through physical time, we could only like, there's only time, there's only like moments of stillness, right? And there's only like and those moments of stillness, they kind of get what do you call that, they kind of get charaded. And I'm just gonna move. And I wrote a bunch of different notes on my Gmail drafts page, and that Gmail drafts page, right? And I know this is raw as F, but within the Gmail draft page, what I'm saying is like the notes help me refer to different things, so I could like, so I could like really try to structure with whatever the hell I'm trying to say. So Aries season, it's a state of it's a paradox of completion. Why is it a paradox of completion? Because Aries season is, in one raw metaphor, it's the baby being born. Crown. Aries is something of the crown, and for the baby to come out of the mother's vagina, there's like, for most cases, there's a crowning process in where the baby's crown comes out of the mother's vagine, and as the baby's crown comes in the mother's vagine, when the baby's born and it's crowning out the mother's vagine, in one paradox and one state of energy and being, everything is contained within the baby's blueprint after it pops out the mother's vagine. So the paradox is the baby is complete, right? It has everything it's needed. The paradox is everything that the first day the baby takes its breath of fresh air and it's there, everything that's there, it's contributing to, like, all the clues are there in the completion of its story, right? So when the baby is born on day one, right? The baby is born on day one. Everything that's gonna, all his genetic makeup, all his environmental makeup, the surrounding makeup, same thing. That energy makeup that's there, that's gonna, that's something of a, it's something of like it's an energy foundation that's gonna contribute for the rest of his life, because those genetic codes of what that baby is, it's using those codes and using those imprints from the foundation of where it's born for it to kind of be unraveled. So it's like when the baby's growing up, it's kind of like a paper being crumpled, right? The paper is at a clean slate, and then after, the paper takes different folds, it takes different blemishes, right? So as the paper takes different folds and blemishes, that's a liken to the Aries going to the Pisces, right? The baby is growing up to transit through life, and as the baby's growing up to transit through life, the crumpled up paper will never be, even and plain again. Shout out to that LP song or whatever. And obviously, like, fucking around with, like, a different universal channel, perhaps, right? So the thing with Aries season is it's a paradox of completion, because and Pisces season is like, it's kind of like the ending of a first movie, right? There's a paradox of incompletion in Pisces season, because at the end of the movie, then you're like, what next type of shit. Like, we went on this other previous journey, and now that the previous journey is over, somehow we're still hankering for more, and there's still something missing, and there's still something absent. So in between Pisces and Aries, on a different higher octave energetic level, there's something of a soul matrix there. There's something of a soul matrix operating system of energies between Pisces and Aries that is like a secret, quote unquote, like niche insight of data intelligence, right? From like the pre-artificial solar system, because inevitably the solar system is gonna artificiate, not good, not bad. That's the material energies are doing what they're doing, and Mercury is kind of having the jurisdiction of seeing how all of these energies are coming to rise. Mercury's at a surface level and in the threshold to just kind of orchestrate what's going on with the materials of artificial intelligence, the Saturn shit, and how it's being communicated and moved through. That's Mercury's surface level job. It's like communicating and knowing and having the gnosis of how the shit is coming about, Mercury and Saturn type of shit. So within all of that shit being said, Aries is kind of like a paradox. It's like the baby is here. The baby has the blueprint to see where it's at. But the thing is, every year is different. There's every new Aries baby on a collective calendar level on a collective calendrical level, it's always different because the cosmic clock it's evolving slowly but surely over time, right? So since Aries season, it's kind of like it's a paradox completion because it's the baby and it's the crown, and it's the baby crowning out of the vagine, and it's the baby starting to walk, right? And as the baby's starting to walk this new year, every year is a different energetic niche astrological video game because the clock settings, they are where they're at, right? And there's a niche alignment between the ending of the story and the beginning of the story. And within the ending and the beginning of the story, the yin and yang energies of the solar system, they have a resetted alignment where the yang energies, the constellations, are aligned with the yin energies, the houses. And as that alignment is taking place, there's a clean deposit and withdrawal of the energies of how the constellations are kind of like in an equal setting within the houses. And since the constellations are at an equal setting with the houses, it's kind of just like that's the refreshing, restarting period, right? But every year has been built upon a different year. It's like layers and the in the sediment, right? It's like don't forget your etiquette, yo. I'll be stretching it, flexible with it, yo. Power up these ligaments. I'm in it in for the long haul. Did you get a new hitch on this new space trek? Did you forget your etiquette? I'm setting the table right, setting the record straight, yo. I'm teching it, trekking it, yo. Delectifiable, whatever that fuck that means, electrifiable on this new street scene, steam train is how I fucking be. Yo, don't forget your etiquette. I'm in it again. That shit is irrelevant, reverent when I'm preaching. Yo, sickness, more than down with it. Yo, clear all this pestilence. Yo, please don't come with that petty shit. Yo, preach it like a goddamn reverend. Severing all of the fake shit. Yo, blue, red, and white, run it like federale shit. But anyways, there's a different word obviously there's a different word I wanted to rhyme there, and I didn't include it in the lyrical flow. But the thing about this live is like I'm gonna come prepared, just run through the book. It's like, which book should I read first, the Tao or the Chaos Gaia Eros book? And the Chaos Gaia Eros work, it's just seeing how like a new version of a new prominent trinity of energies have just made a new staple of understanding of intelligence for us to like keep evolving, right? This book. Pause. So, and let's see, what am I doing? Oh, yep. And obviously, like, just understand it and let the shit pass, just understand it and So I'm looking at my notes, and one thing, I started the video off by trying to break down with critical thinking. There's a paradox too, and I've spoken about this in different ways long time ago. There's a paradox of like being in the present fucking moment, right? Being in the present moment. What the fuck does that mean? It means everything that you will ever have is here and now, but it's changing, respectively. It's changing and shifting in a way where that will never happen again, and things won't be the same again like that, right? So it's like, it's just recognizing God's like soul matrix. I'm gonna read the books because I don't want to get too like ranty with this. So I'm gonna I'm gonna read the books, so I'm not too like I'm not too rough and raw with it. And like I'm like the intellectual intention is saying it's structured because I'm coming somewhatly prepared with the shit that I'm gonna do, but I'm aware that there's still a rough and raw aspect to this. But I'm deeming it structured because I'm taking notes and I'm reading from the books, and then I'm gonna do a different dance commercial. So once I do the dance commercial, maybe I'll do the dance commercial right now because I'm reading the notes. I was just gonna come on today and read the effing books, and the notes that I took, they're great. So the planets, they're like chakras. So since the planets are like chakras, the chakras of the planets, they're in different orbital stations of beings, right? And from a different space of being, they have the power to go either farther away or closer away on a scientific level. And the science is just seeing the state of matter having a different process exchange, and how states of matter could change, and how they could have a steady state, and how they could even possibly have a starting point, old Instagram shit, right? And seeing that, and seeing just the state of those energies being what they are, right? And how they're being used. So I just did a new intuitive definition of what science is. It's seeing the applicative processes of how energies are being used by consciousness, microconsciousness, humans, the state of that. How does the state become the state what it is from different beings of consciousness, and then how different states of energy interact and change and combust, and how they, and on a different level how they're steady, and on a different level how did the consciousness originate. So that's the metaphysical definition of science. Now let me intuitively, and you could rewind that, now let me read the Google text of science. So we're this whole physical matrix shit, they're stupid because for the longest time they've been downplaying spiritual knowledge, respectively, etc. Yet they're unconscious to the fact that they're dependent on it and they're relying on it. So there's standard intellectual retardation, respectively, to the fucking original intelligence, because we're using all of that original spiritual knowledge and then we forget it, and our individual arrogance based on just random miscellaneous toxic shit and arrogance, we get blinded and confused to the shit that's fucking feeding us. That's the Kali Yuga, right? So we got to wake up to the fucking shit that we're in the Kali Yuga. Oh, everything's love and light, namaste, but we're still in this Kali Yuga. Let's give you all this fucking engineered spiritual knowledge to numb you out intellectually that we're not in the Kali Yuga and this war shit's not happening. That's that fucking fake ass Gaia shit as is, on a different niche shadow agenda, not good, not bad, just within the energies of polarities. That's the shit that people don't have discernment or intelligence of. That God's timing will go from you. God's peace will go from you in this 3D in this 3D time of change and duality, right? And there was a different word I wanted to rhyme with etiquette, but before that, mini lyrical flow, I think I said it before, because it's like the brain could it could capture like what it could kind of choose what will it say next. Is it going to go with that pathway, or is it going to go with a different pathway? It's like don't forget your etiquette. I'm silly lit. I'm illy lit. I'm illy prepped. I'm illy. So the definition of science. Let's get it, motherfucker. And after the definition of science, K-pop or K-pop commercial, whatever. And obviously, I respect where y'all have gotten with this shit. And it's crazy how like there could. So sciencecouncil.o, whatever. Science is the pursuit and application of knowledge and understanding of the natural and social world following a systematic methodology based on evidence. So science needs evidence. So the need for evidence, there's evidence that we have a need to follow up on evidence because you are the evidence of what you're doing, and the doing of you and what you are is something of a science per my intuitive definition. Scientific methodology includes the following. And obviously this is like old shit. And obviously this has been used throughout the whole fucking, the whole fucking gambit of the fucking educational realm, right? Like obviously, like I get it. I get people's school projects. Like I'm not hating. I'm just saying it's not all about the physical matrix shit. So let me open up this fucking, hopefully. Scientific methodology includes the following: objective observation, measurement, and data, possibly, although not necessarily using mathematics as a tool. So not necessarily using mathematics as a tool. So, okay, that's all right. I guess I'm trying to understand, not necessarily. The math is always implied and unconscious. What does that mean? We're working with time and change. So the math is always going to be there. And we are math based on how we magnify and how we contract and and have our own level of expansion. Evidence. So like I said, like the evidence from the soul matrix is a whole different realm from surface level matrix shit, because it's self-evident that you dream, and since you dream, that means you're in a place. So, and within every place there's some type of center point. So if there's some type of center point, and the human for some reason wants to document it and record it, then that's what it means by evidence. But sometimes things are self-evident, and that one isn't necessarily like popularized, the notion of like self-evident. And I should have saved that one for later, but whatever. So so scientific methodology includes the following: objective observation. Okay, who's observing the observer? Evidence. How does that evidence come about? Experiment and or observation as benchmarks for testing hypotheses. What do you think the fucking matrix is? Induction, reasoning to establish general rules or conclusions drawn from facts or examples. Repetition, critical analysis, verification and testing, critical exposure to scrutiny, peer review, and assessment. And obviously, like, quote unquote AI, end quote, obviously it has its own, it could have its own algorithm off of that, right? But the thing here is people don't know the underground shit, because for someone to really explain some advanced details of the origins of AI, which I have done in the underground, and I have even in the surface online presentation, if you just look through the archives of it on the surface level, for that to be a possibility, that would have to have a secret correlation, right? Because all of it is a secret correlation, as above, so below, reflecting, the microcosm is a reflection of the macrocosm in different, realizations of you finding your own leading trail of evidence, right? So what does that mean? So it means that we have to go, we're seeing how the education system is changing and transforming, how the surface level physical matrix is kind of more or less acknowledging and respecting the soul matrix and how shit is brought about. like period type of shit. And if you don't have the intelligence to intuit that, then that's the process of the new education system of life, though. It's the education system of life. We're learning through the hard knocks of life, right? Life is teaching us. And I've been doing this, like, I've been writing quality since 2012, like, and even sooner. Like, I've been writing, like, for some reason, and I'm just like, it's all good. This is God's timing. If I'm slept on, I'm slept on. But since 2012, like, that's cool that y'all had your breakthroughs. I've been like, you know, the soul observes it. Like, I believe in the Akashic records. I believe in a whole different data system and infrastructure of a different spiritual solar system. And for the physical matrix to barely peep game on that, okay, that's the new education process, because we're learning through life, the esoteric energies and ethers and the waters. We're learning through trial and error, and some more than others, some more prominently in others, based on their figure and form and their intellectual imprints, right? So some, like, human design will teach you that your form could be more catered to trial and error. That could be your life's theme. And then some not as much, but still to some inkling, yes. So there's a trial and error process within this shit. So I just had to read that. I read the definition of science, and I had my own intuition of definition of science before this definition of science. So I read a bunch of fucking notes, and I'm gonna read I'm gonna read the Tao. I'm going, like, so there's a choice point right here, right? Should I read the narratives of you know, the spirit to, like, human drama narratives? Or should I do the soul matrix stuff? I could have done the narrative, the collective drama narrative, but I'm going to do the Tao first, because I'm going to focus on the soul matrix, and I could fucking line this Tao up in a different way, different way. And I respect that you are here. Thank you for the resonance. Thank you for the constructive resonance. Thank you for the positive resonance. What is the positive resonance? Seeing the fucking brighter side of life, of everything, perhaps, and perhaps wanting to work with it in balance or not. And if you don't, then let the fucking experiment of life do its fucking shit, and you will reap what you sow. And then I can't say I fucking told you so type of shit. So I'm going to read just fucking 8 pages of this shit. So, introduction. The Tao De Ching, and initiation. The Tao De Ching. So this is episode 1, and there's like another tangly prelude within this shit. But the series is me completing these books. And the Tao De Ching, I'll run through this shit because it's a short book, but the wisdom, it's timeless for you to process. And then the KKKAE Eros book is to see the raw, gritty details of Earth's drama and other details of just the life's complex of you know, of just like of just other details will arise when I read the KKKAE Eros book. I'm gonna crack this open. We got highball, vanilla. Woo! Time flash froze freeze frame. Embedded in, you remember it, veteran. Recollecting it. Time you gotta relish it. No. So it's interesting, like, you know, I just like, I want to pause on the gratitude of just the miracle of the brain. You know, the brain is like, it's like it can order certain logic to build and to be. So let me pause. But within that process of movement, some things could get lost and spilled. And something of the great work is to kind of like, just see the dark duality of the matrix. The dark duality is there's distortion, there's energy retardation for the growth of the soul. Can edit that shit, obviously. So introduction. Tao is one of the most, let me get the posture up. Tao is one of the most, and then, me start reading the prelude 3 ends at 36 minutes. So now the series starts post 36 minutes because the series is me reading the books. So I'm going to come professional tomorrow. I'll continue the reading. I'll organize the notes, and I'll see what's up with the moon. And then hopefully today I can do the dance commercial, and hopefully tomorrow I can do the dance commercial. But I'm just flowing right now. So the series starts 36.5 minutes. End of prelude 3. Tao is one of the most basic and comprehensive symbols in the Chinese language, the center of all philosophical and spiritual discourse. It may mean a path, a way, a principle, a method, a doctrine, a system of order, and also may mean the matrix, structure, and reality of the universe itself. Every art and science is called a Tao, or a way. But the source of everything, the fountain of all art and science, is called the Tao, or the way. Taoism is based first and foremost on the experience of this universal way, the essential reality through which all derivative ways might be comprehended. Considering the ultimate nature of the way to be inherently beyond the bounds of human conception, ancient Taoists sought traces of the way in the patterns of events taking place in the natural world, the social world, and the inner world of the individual psyche. Eventually, the scope of the way led them to undertake the investigation of vast domains of knowledge and experience. While followers of Taoism thus branched out into many different fields of research and work, those interested primarily in the essential Tao continued to focus on perfecting the mastery of human nature and life in 3 critical areas, parentheses, soul matrix, end parentheses. Individual well-being, social harmony, and accelerated evolution of consciousness. These 3 bases were believed to form the foundation of overall human development, the guiding lights of the arts and sciences. Individual well-being, social harmony, and accelerated evolution of consciousness. Through generations of applying the Tao to these 3 basic domains of life, extraordinary accomplishments in the maintenance of physical vitality, fostering of sensitive and effective relations between people, and development of latent mental powers, including spontaneous insight and foreknowledge, came to be recognized as byproducts of working with the way. Furthermore, according to the ethos of the way, these developments, once realized, were not to be guarded possessively, but put to the service of humanity. In accordance with the elusive nature of the way, the beneficial results of its application by individuals were not to be paraded proudly before others, but to be diffused in an inconspicuous yet effective manner. There are 2 classic Chinese books describing the essential philosophy and practice of the Tao, made public long ago as the Maps of the Way to the Way, Tao Te Ching and Zhuangzi. Both these works have long outgrown cultural boundaries and are widely regarded as classics of world literature. Composed over 2,000 years ago, Tao Te Ching and Zhuangzi are among world's most ancient and honored books of practical wisdom. Their subject matter ranges widely, from politics and economy to psychology and mysticism, addressing the needs and interests of a diverse readership. Few of the world's great books have achieved the perennial currency of these writings. The Tao Te Ching is an anthology of ancient sayings, poems, and proverbs. Its compilation is attributed to the prototypical Lao Tzu, the old master, who is regarded as one of the greatest ancestors of Taoism. Zhuangzi, traditionally said to have been written by a Taoist named Shuang Chao, is a collection of stories and monologues illustrating and expounding the teachings of the Tao Te Ching. Together, they present the philosophical and practical core of classical Taoism. The Tao Te Ching is commonly believed to have been compiled around 500 BC, near the end of the spring and autumn era, when the social and political order of China was disintegrating rapidly. The Zhuangzi was written about 300 BC, during the era of the Warring States, when the classical civilization of China was all but destroyed by civil wars. By the middle of the 2nd century BC, after the unification of China, Tao Te Ching was firmly established at the imperial court as a favorite source book of practical wisdom. The more arcane Zhuangzi was transmitted in Taoist circles, as evidenced in the appearance of many allusions to it in later Taoist works of the pre-Christian era, eventually to emerge in the 3rd century AD as a popular classic of deep learning ranked with I Ching and Tao Te Ching. Ever since that time, virtually all literate people in China have read Tao Te Ching and Zhuangzi. Countless readers have found endless fascination and enlightenment in the pregnant aphorisms and fantastic allegories of these ancient classics. Over the centuries, the Tao Te Ching in particular has inspired many social and spiritual movements, as well as a vast body of exegetical literature. Various traditions on this text evolved among Taoist, Buddhist, Confucian, legalist, and martial schools of thought. At one time, state colleges of mysticism were even established by the Chinese government for study of the philosophy of Tao Te Ching. People who had mastered it were sought as advisors by all kinds of people, from emperors to peasants. When the Taoist canon was put to the torch by the order of the Mongol ruler of China in 1280, this Tao Te Ching alone was spared destruction. Although commonly associated with Taoism, this classic was actually studied and transmitted by all of the mainstreams of Chinese philosophy. Commentators on it include mystics, poets, statesmen, and martial artists. Numerous separate works have also been written based on some of its ideas. Over the centuries, this single text spawned a vast and complex literature reflecting the many levels of meaning revealed and concealed within its ancient sayings. Tao Te Ching has been translated countless times into Western languages, including English, French, German, Italian, Russian, Turkish, and Latin. It was first rendered into English more than 100 years ago and has been retranslated, paraphrased, and adapted dozens of times since then. This volume on the Essential Tao presents a new annotated English version of this classic text, translated from the original Chinese. Zhuangzi also ranks as one of the most famous works of Chinese literature, as well as being an essential Taoist source book. It contains the works of different authors believed to be followers of the school of Shuang Chao, but its 7 core chapters are attributed to Shuang Chao himself. He was the earliest known expositor of the teachings of Lao Tzu and is himself numbered among the foremost masters of Taoist philosophy. Shuang Chao was a deep thinker and a brilliant writer. He could be magnificent and grandiose, outrageous and funny, sharp and acerbic, dreamy and playful, sober and earnest, serene and unruffled. The inner meanings of his allegories have been pondered for centuries. Throughout Shuang Chao's lifetime, China was at war with itself, with several states of the ancient Chinese Federation
contending among themselves for territory and dominion. The whole land was caught up in an atmosphere of militarism, intrigue, and aggression. Professional strategists and martial artists roamed from state to state, trying to sell their own plans for hegemony, while the people were taxed to the limit and conscripted into forced labor and military service. Born into the midst of all this, Shuangqiao took to the ancient way of Taoism taught in Lao Tzu's Tao Te Ching. Because Lao Tzu wrote extensively on the philosophy and art of enlightened leadership, as a Taoist scholar, Shuangqiao was once asked to become the advisor of a king living in a more turbulent time than the ancient sage Lao Tzu. Shuangqiao declined the invitation, explaining that he did not care to be like a sacrificial animal, fattened and dressed for slaughter. His refusal to enter the service of a particular king, notwithstanding on examination of his writings, it is clear that Shuangqiao was not the escapist or anarchist he has often been made out to be. He was a champion of liberty, but his work is addressed to the purpose of furthering the general welfare of humanity through the edification and enlightenment of public servants as well as private individuals. The relatively cautious and retiring attitude in dealing with world tyranny Shuangqiao seems to advocate is not escapism, but an attempt to harmonize with Lao Tzu's Taoist teaching on tact. Is it empty talk? The old saying that tact keeps you whole. When truthfulness is complete, it still resorts to this. Tao Te Ching 22. Because Shuangqiao was concerned with both spiritual and social liberty, Lao Tzu and Confucius are important figures in his symbolic stories. Shuangqiao's approach to freedom was psychological and social as well as political. He encouraged people to seek freedom from tyranny and oppression of all kinds, whether political, social, intellectual, or emotional. He even inspired people to seek liberation from the ultimate tyranny of death. As a philosopher and as a man, Shuangqiao had the audacity to lay bare the root of the human condition. Having set aside his illusions, he could not be manipulated by either hope or fear. Shuangzi, the book of Shuangqiao, consists of 3 sections known as the inner, outer, and miscellaneous chapters. The inner chapters are the first 7, attributed to Shuangqiao himself and containing the essence of the teachings. This volume on the essential Tao presents an original translation of that basic core. The inner chapters of Shuangzi, with notes outlining the philosophy and symbolism of the classic work. Tao Te Ching 1 and 2. And here's a casual gem right here. You know, the I Ching, I feel like the I Ching is the nature moving out towards the physical matrix, and the Tao Te Ching is the soul matrix that is something of like the fortress of seeing how there's a different type of matrix that's not the physical matrix, and that soul matrix has accounted for nature living and dying. So that's my intuitive translation in the present moment of the Tao Te Ching. It's a soul matrix fortress that accounts for life and death, and the I Ching is the tedious details of how time and individual human consciousness and other nature consciousness has expressed itself from the soul matrix. So they both have their own yin and yang, but I feel like the Tao Te Ching, it's its own yin and yang that's kind of pointing to a soul matrix, and the Tao Te Ching is the patterns of nature coming from the soul matrix to the physical reality. And the I Ching, somehow it's numericalized within the gates, and within the 64 nature code bit of the I Ching, gate 63 and gate 64. Gate 63 is after completion, you know, And it's not that gate 63 is it's not that gate 63 is likened to a certain constellation, but it is. That constellation energy of the gate could be signified and symbolized through you as you move through different places and spaces of time and different people. So gate 63 in I Ching, what is gate 63? After completion. So it's kind of more or less resembles the Pisces constellation, but not per se, right? So gate 63, where's the I Ching specialists? What is gate 63? After completion. So it's kind of like the paradoxical ending. We're waiting, like things are done, complete. We're at the finish line, right? And now we want to have just a natural next transition. The soul matrix, everything's complete. Now we want to differentiate before completion, gate 64. So rather than me starting the Tao Te Ching on the first, edik or whatever, how about I start the Tao Te Ching on its 63rd and 64th canto, and seeing how it's not necessarily an exact correlation, the Tao Te Ching and I Ching, but maybe there could be. So I'm going to start this Tao Te Ching with the 63 and 64. Why am I doing that? To celebrate the mysticism of the paradox. Gate 63 after completion. So it's all complete already. And it's fitting because we're in the Pisces Aries energy, not necessarily with the collective sun's solar system's, characteristics on how the solar system evolves. The sun evolves. The sun inside the solar system, how the physical solar system evolves and feels and has new emotions, the sun and the solar system. It's not just in the Aries. Different chakras are in the Pisces and Aries constellation. So the Pisces energy is the concluding, the after completion, the what's next, the needing to differentiate. So gate 63, and I don't know if gate 63 is, let me see. So gate 63, the I Ching, what constellation is that? And from that, this is like the start of the esoteric sciences, because the soul matrix is accounting for its child, the I Ching, to record its experiment. So the I Ching is recording its experiments from the Tao Te Ching. So gate 63, funny enough, is in the Pisces constellation. So since gate 63 is in the Pisces constellation, everything's kind of done, right? There's different chakras, the planets that are close, that have done work, that have transited the Pisces energy. And the moon's going to pass through this shit too. So when the moon passes through Pisces, we're going to feel this paradox of the quote unquote, the Costa Nostra cosmic family. That whole family shit isn't it's more or less relative in Pisces too. So we're going to be feeling this shit. The moon is we need to thrive off it's like we're forced to thrive off this tribal family dynamic energy. And it doesn't have to be literally your family, but just the different contexts of families of life, right? The moon needing to draw good energy from how the moon is drawing its standard energy from a certain constellation, and us aligning with that. And so we could know how to stabilize our mood, right? So when the moon is going through Pisces, we're going to be feeling more, or we could be feeling, and we could work towards satisfaction. The moon working for satisfaction, the moon working for your good energy and comfort, while all the other chakras are doing their own shit. And as the other planetary chakras are doing their own shit, they're in a certain distance away, and they're beaming their shit in a certain constellation, and they're making the surface level shit to have a new spicing, a new ingredient for it to be what it is. So when the moon is going to go through Pisces, we're going to feel the dream. We're going to feel the dream of we could see through the deception, right? We have the chance to, like, Neptune is like media deception, right? Or that matrix game is like the deception is like or the media is just inverted, not good, not bad. The media has been inverted on an esoteric scientific level just to see the reflection of a different spiritual truth. And it's not necessarily inverted in a bad way, but after it's inverted, then we're drawing conclusions based on half truths. Neptune, media deception. Neptune, we're drawing conclusions off of not the whole truth. And the whole fucking physical matrix, Neptune and Saturn, the whole fucking spiritual fucking, haphazard scripts it's being endowed in the programs of robotic consciousness in Saturn, right? So we're sleeping on these other chakras. So chapter 36 or whatever on Tao Te Ching, and it's not necessarily correlating with the I Ching, but I'm going to start it on 63 just to what do you call that? Just to fucking excuse my language. Just to honor the Pisces energy in the non-human intelligence way. The Pisces energy being the paradox of completion, the Pisces energy being the paradox of conclusion, the Pisces energy being the conclusion wanting more. And the Pisces energy and the Neptune energy is experimenting crazy experiments with just inverted spiritual scripts, not good, not bad. And from a different vantage point, then going from that starting point, then being in a dream realm before the Saturn, and then eventually going into the Saturn construct, the robotic construct, not good, not bad at the start, and making just a whole new Neptunian experiment, right? So it's a Neptunian experiment, this whole shit, and even more so, it's an extreme Neptunian experiment. Why? Because Neptune is conjunct in the sun. So we're in the cosmic clock. So the paradox of all is now, it's not necessarily all is now. There are things that are in decay. Everything is like, it's all in the present moment. No, that's not necessarily true. Things will decay and transit. So for me to have that critical thinking is we're in a certain spot in the cosmic matrix, in the cosmic clock, where things will not always be like this. We're in the video game. We're in decaying time. Eckhart Tolle, do you understand that? We're in decaying time. The present moment is subjective. Quality underground, like with God's time, beyond, like, just beyond your shit, pretty much. And who knows when they'll have the bravery to really fucking ironically act on fucking now. So there's a sick fucking irony here. They're not acting on the now. They're just professing it's in the fucking moment, yet there's fucking relative shit you're not fucking addressing. So do you see that fucking paradox? Do you see that fucking hypocrisy? Do you see that fucking contradiction? It's here in the now, but we're gonna fucking dismiss shit, and we're not gonna understand the real fucking now. So do you see that da shit? So chapter 63. So we're in decaying transitory time, and we're subscribed, and we have to put, it's like we're not putting the soul matrix's knowledge, we're not using that as applicability to the physical matrix shit. That whole soul matrix applicability, it's really lost on us, and it takes real critical thinkers to really blast through the fucking lack of critical thinking and just the fucking I want to sell fucking replicated hand-me-down spiritual knowledge just to get rich and sell out to detrimental shit. No, this is me carrying the fucking wisdom itself and not being fucking hypocritical with this fucking shit, So that's the fucking difference between spiritual leaders. Chapter 63. Do non-doing. Do non-doing. Strive for non-striving. Savor the flavorless. Regard the small as important. Make much of little. Repay enmity with virtue. Plan for difficulty when it is still easy. The paradox of life, the chakras of life. We're in the video game where the biggest fucking titty miracle is we still have a chance for self-fucking-vation. And for the collective intelligence to not fucking recognize that the stage of the matrix where we're in, where we have the chance to still patch shit up before the matrix gets harder, aside from all this fucking spiritual, petty, fucking contradictive knowledge shit, engineered fake and love and light shit, and that's a fucking gift, we could still do things while we fucking can. Beyond the political shit, beyond the fucking haphazard, polarized, fragmented, distorted political shit. Respects to the bigger picture. So 63, do non-doing. Do non-doing. Strive for non-striving. Savor the flavorless. As I sip my vanilla. Nilla. And yeah, just let the fucking where your attention goes, that's where the energy flows. But the other chakras, they're making the matrix for what it is, and they're quote unquote ordaining the karma, end quote. So attention goes where energy flows. So that's just a small chance. It's a small chance. Esoteric math. It's a percentage to fix your shit. Neutrally saying that. And respects to where you came from. Because if you're in a position of power, then that's just how you came about from these planetary chakras. And I'm not judging that. I'm just a bigger picture person. So let me read this chapter 63 shit. 63, do non-doing, strive for non-striving, savor the flavorless, regard the small as important, make much of little, repay enmity with virtue, plan for difficulty when it is still easy. Ooh, that one gets me. Do the great while it is still small. The most difficult things in the world must be done while they're easy. This is such a paradox. It's like different chakras of the planets, they're the original game changers. They're giving us the influence in this fucking time of the matrix of disaster and seemingly passing harmony. There's an opportunity chance to fix and solve certain shit for good or not, or fake hypocritical tech artificial leaders that just replicate shit and just fucking don't realize that they're just fucking on some different leasing shit. But that's all good. The most difficult things in the world must be done while they are easy. The greatest things in the world must be done while they are small. It's like climbing a mountain, you know. The mountain within the seasons of things, it's a small journey because it's not like the temperament isn't necessarily like disastrous. Or I'm sure other example, and like this is a class thing, you know. So if I were teaching at a class and I could just intuitively be teaching this book, like you could come up with your own example of what example could you come up with when hearing this sentence? The greatest things in the world must be done while they are small. So I gave you an activity. So let me pause for a second and let me finish this. Let me finish this. Well, the pause is implied. So here's my little class challenge to you. You come up with an example of when you hear this sentence, you come up with your own example of how it is relative to the sentence. The greatest things in the world must be done while they are small. It's like cleaning up, you know, clean up while the mess isn't that big, right? So the mess isn't that big. So we could clean up and make quote unquote organization, end quote, So then the organization, we could lean back towards that organization. So if a different problem comes up, this problem is already solved, quote unquote organization, end quote. And the soul matrix is the most organized beyond all artificial intelligence, aside from the karmas of surface level shit. And I'm the most organized in the paradox. And the Akashic records could prove that in the future. Because of this, sages never do great things. And there's paradoxical karma here. So because of this, sages never do great things. That is why they could fulfill their greatness. If you agree too easily, you'll be little trusted. If you take it easy a lot, you'll have a lot of problems. Therefore, it is through difficulty that sages end up without problems. If you take it easy a lot, you'll have a lot of problems. If you take it easy a lot, you'll have a lot of problems. Do non-doing, strive for non-doing, savor the flavorless. Regard the small as important, make much of little, repay enmity with virtue, plan for difficulty when it is still easy, do the great while it is still small. The most difficult things in the world must be done while they are easy. The greatest things in the world must be done while they are small. Because of this, sages never do great things. That is why they could fulfill their greatness. If you agree too easily, you'll be little trusted. If you take it easy a lot, you'll have a lot of problems. Therefore, it is through difficulty that sages end up with problems. So you have to come passionate with this shit. You have to see the passion of life's creation and the hardness of the life and shit. Because that is the reality. The hardness of life is a reality. And if you confront that hardness of life of reality, then you're solving life's epidemic itself. And then once you solve life's epidemic, if you take the easy route, then eventually life's hardness of its reality epidemic, it will overcome you in the future, right? Because you're putting shit to the side on so many different fronts. And Venus, her surface level shit with the humans, her court shit, because Venus is the courtships, low-key, because Venus is the ruler of Libra, and we sleep on Venus like a mofo. That shit will be accounted for eventually in the human realm, you know? So Venus, Mercury, and Neptune are conjunct in Aries right now. So it's so the whole the whole courtroom shit on an unconscious level, it's low-key seeing the paradox of self-judging and completion, right? Because Aries is I feel like Aries is it's low-key they automatically I feel like they automatically know themselves to the point where, since they know themselves so much at an innate level, they're just gonna express that in an explosive fashion, because innately they know themselves so much that they're just gonna express that, and they're just gonna fucking ride with that shit, right? So if Venus is kind of courting that, so the Venus could court the self-analysis, right? Venus and Aries, courting your self-analysis. And as and Neptune is the media deception within human babies. Neptune and Aries, the crazy experiments with babies, not good, not bad. That's just the Neptune and Aries. Neptune is media deception and crazy fucking experiments in the Aries constellation. So within that, there's going to be, this is actually a low-key, really balanced time, because for Venus to kind of lean towards for us to use our good Venus powers to balance the justice system, Venus, the justice system, Venus conjunct Neptune and Mercury, we have the knowledge and intelligence, and we're communicating that, and we're fucking putting it in reform casually without me, or with or without me, whatever, just on just a on just a raw example of, but not net like, well, everything is like, everything comes and goes, so like obviously there are people that will just be like, people have that mindset, like, why do we need you? Like, obviously the soul matrix has peeped that shit, but with or without me, respectively, the conjunction still is still playing the house, right? The conjunction is still playing the house. What does that mean? Venus's courting system is amplifying and in conjunction and is in symbiosis with Mercury and Neptune. So since Mercury is accounting for, even like low key, go through my past archives. The stock market on a low key esoteric level, it could be spiritually influenced by the courting systems of Venus and just the visual prowess of Venus, because Venus is 2nd and 7th house, right? So Venus is all about like see it to believe it, right? Get like what, like visually, like this is the visual creative, like Venus 2nd and 7th house. It's like Venus is like the sexual energy is making a creative picture, right? 2nd house, Taurus. So Taurus is like the vision, right? The vision from creative energies, from like, from just a little bit of everything in its own surface level appeal, right? Venus is 2nd house, 7th house, and exalted in the 12th house. So Venus within that 2nd house, we're getting, so Venus's dual nature is 2nd house, creative sexual energy, making a creative picture. And then 7th house, daytime Venus, is like, how is that shit being courted, right? How is that shit being courted? And then the Mercury is accounting for all of that shit. He's organizing that shit. He's putting it into like he's putting it into like a norm system, right? He's putting it into the norm system of like of how different elements will have their place, right? And as different elements have their place, it's kind of like something's being normed out. Mercury's norming it out, right? With his 6th house Virgo shit. So with Mercury's 6th house Virgo shit, he's norming the shit and then communicating the shit. He's like, the shit that's being normed out on just a deep, not good, not bad esoteric level is, it's just like it's just a very interesting time that like I'm just trying to break down intuitively with unique details like the Mercury, Venus, and Neptune conjunction in Aries. We're kind of norming out on how different we're just norming out a lot of shit is just like so much different things are being normed out pretty much. And just go to the recent archives to kind of like, kind of connect this shit too, So chapter 64, what is at rest is easy to hold. What is at rest is easy to hold. What has not shown up is easy to take into account. What is frail is easy to break. What is vague is easy to dispel. Do it before it exists. Govern it before there's disorder. The most massive tree grows from a sprout. The highest building rises from a pile of earth. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a step. Those who contrive spoil it. Those who cling lose it. Thus sages contrive nothing, and so spoil nothing. They cling to nothing and so lose nothing. Therefore, people's works are always spoiled on the verge of completion. Be as careful of the end as of the beginning, and nothing will be spoiled. Thus, sages want to have no wants. They do not value goods, hard to get. They learn not learning. to recover from people's excesses, thereby to assist the naturalness of all beings without daring to contrive. I'll read it again for my own flow. Chapter 64, Tao Te Ching. An initiation into the heart of Taoism through the authentic Tao Te Ching and the inner teachings of Zhuangzi. Chapter 64. And in the I Ching, Gate 64 is before completion, the full card. The full card having different contexts, the full card of an energy of innocence, the full card of that energy being everybody. Everybody is their own fool energetically, right? There's something that you don't know. There's something that you don't understand. On the journey, you don't know everything that you're embarking upon. There's the natural fool energy that could be synonymous with Gate 64 and Chapter 64. So the Fool card, more or less, right? And it doesn't have to be exact, right? That's the beauty of astrological HD differentiation. Things are building upon different things to make new different things. So Chapter 64 of the Tao Te Ching, and I just saw double 16s for whatever reason. What is at rest is easy to hold. Is at rest is easy to hold. What has not shown up is easy to take into account. What is frail is easy to break. What is vague is easy to dispel. Do it before it exists. Govern it before there's disorder. The most massive tree grows from a sprout. The highest building rises from a pile of earth. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a step. Those who contrive spoil it. Those who cling lose it. Thus sages contrive nothing and so spoil nothing. They cling to nothing and so lose nothing. Therefore, people's works are always spoiled on the verge of completion. Be as careful of the end as of the beginning, and nothing will be spoiled. Thus sages want to have no wants. They do not value goods hard to get. They learn not learning to recover from people's excesses, thereby to assist the naturalness of all beings without daring to contrive. What is vague is easy to spell. Your shit is known by planetary chakras and new individual humans who have the intelligence and the critical thinking to see what manipulation is. Be at rest. The manipulators numb out their own full card energy, not condescending. And I'll just read 5 pages of this. 5. Come back tomorrow. 5 pages. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to get... Will I get the dance commercial? Hopefully I can conclude it with the dance commercial. So hopefully I can conclude it with the dance commercial. It's pretty standard stuff. Let me see. Okay. Introduction. I'm just going to read 5 pages. So this series might be a little elongated because I'm going to take the Tao a little slowly, and then I'm going to just, I guess, there's something that wants me to focus on this book as well. I almost read this book first, The human likes drama, right? The narcissist wants, we know what the narcissist wants. I'm not going to, based on the Tao excerpts. You better peep the excerpts. You better see what lurks, what notion. Don't get nerfed on whose terms. She trying to get sexual. Me first, head first, no sperm or many sperm. Oh, Learn how you got to save your swimmer, spare it. Yo, do I swerve on this? Yo, dynamical perv on a new perch. Learn how I got to firm and with what I do know on the verge of a new brink. Yo, think twice or think none or think without thinking non-do. Derp. Yo, new alert. Yo, revert to what now? Main goal is don't get murked. Yo. Introduction. The Orphic Revival. 2-book class intuitive flow. The Tao Te Ching. And wow, and this, look at, where is he from? This is crazy. This guy, and there's many, and I try to respect everybody. Ralph Abraham is a world-renowned chaos theorist and professor emeritus of mathematics at the University of California, Santa Cruz. So that's an interesting coincidence. So I try to respect everybody, and I try to put myself in a learning position too, because aside from the human's new awareness, people have put in their own work, and we can't let our arrogance get the best of us. So I try to respect everybody. But it's just interesting that this book is so fitting. It's like there's it's so fitting. Out of all the places that this book could come out of, you think this book would come out of fucking Berkeley or something, right? You think this book would come straight from fucking Berkeley, but this book doesn't. And Berkeley and Santa Cruz, they're low key similar. They have that like hippie vibe, or that like that they have like that. Berkeley and Santa Cruz, they have like a similarity within like an antique vibe, right? Or whatever. So wow, this book is coming from Santa Cruz University or whatever. So standardly and neutrally, hopefully there could just be some newfound, appreciation, maturity, and respect, right? Perhaps, right? Or not, right? So wow, this is kind of interesting, It's like, and it's who knows if this is taught. I don't think this is a textbook per se, but I'm just gonna read the fucking book. Excuse my French. Just 5 pages. And yeah, respect, right? Or try, right? The Orphic Revival, and then the whole oneness family and how we pivot out of that comes to mind. Because I'm like a realist, I'm really like I discern this shit, I discern like how some people want to take advantage of some shit. Welcome to 3D. But I'm just gonna read the book. So I'm gonna read 5 pages. And I don't mean to shout out anybody like that, because I'm not trying to attract like, some like out of pocket intelligence. But if it is there, then, just let just let shit be, kind of shit, just let it be. Like I don't. It's like, whoa, what a coincidence. Whoa, what a coincidence. Whoa, what a coincidence. You're beautiful. Whoa, what a coincidence. You're beautiful. Whoa, what a coincidence. We look good together. It's like, try this pickup line. Whoa, what a coincidence. We look good together. How did that happen? How you doing? How is this, like, how is this happening? An angel being in the same room as me? But obviously, like, the scenario is like different. But whoa, what a coincidence. So look, I gave game to the students because my soul is just like that, So I'm giving. Whoa, what a coincidence. How is an angel in the same room? Yeah, and obviously people could have like people will be like, spoiled it, huh? That's life. That's life. And the I Ching even teaches about things getting spoiled. Oh. Okay, I'm gonna read 5 pages. Let's get through this, and tomorrow, hopefully, wait, 1, 2, 3. Oh, just well, I guess 6 pages. I'll read 6 pages. So tomorrow, hopefully, I could read. Tomorrow, hopefully, I could read. I'll start with the Chaos book tomorrow, and hopefully, I could just like really just without me taking notes, just start with the book, the Chaos book tomorrow, then Dao De Ching. Let me do this. Let me read this book. Let me do the dance commercial, and then let shit just kind of like do its shit, So, the Orphic Revival. Since 1960, I've been working in the area of dynamical systems theory, a classical branch of mathematics created by Isaac Newton in the 17th century. In the midst of the cultural upheavals of the 1960s, great inroads were made in the field of dynamical systems. Due in part to the computer revolution, dynamical systems theory deals with moving systems, such as the solar system and the patterns they trace in space and time. Newton discovered mathematical laws that such systems obey and constructed mathematical models that are abstract analogs of their space-time patterns. His discovery has been credited as one of the greatest intellectual contributions ever made by a single person. About a century ago, dynamical systems theory was revolutionized by Henri Poincaré, the great French mathematician, when he discovered models for highly complex motions, which later came to be called strange attractors. By the late 1960s, numerous examples of strange attractors had been discovered in computer simulations. In 1972, I traveled to the Institut des Hautes Études Scientifiques in France to visit with René Thom. In his book on morphogenesis, the study of pattern formation, Thom introduced a new language for the application of dynamical systems theory, which included the terms attractor, basin of attraction, and catastrophe. I was interested in pursuing these ideas with him, but when I arrived, Thom was onto something new. He showed me a book of photographs by Hans Jenny, an amateur scientist from Basel. The photographs showed forms created by sound vibrations in sand, powder, and water. They were suggestive of galaxies, planets, brainwaves, memories, hallucinations, and abstract works of arts. A theory of morphogenesis in which the mysteries of creation were seemingly revealed was projected wordlessly by the book. My mind reeled with new possibilities for the application of dynamical systems theory to nature and society. That summer, I went to India on holiday and soon found myself living in a cave in the jungle in the Himalayas, a mile above sea level. The cave had been inhabited for centuries by jungle yogis, and in it I experienced a number of illuminations on the concepts of vibration in Hindu philosophy and on harmony and resonance concepts in mathematics, music, and mysticism. When I returned to California in 1974, I began a program of research and teaching on vibrations, chaos, computation, and computer graphics, delving deeply into the histories of these subjects, going ever backward. To the Baroque, to the Renaissance, to ancient Greece, and beyond. Soon after my return, I found other people who shared these interests, including Terence McKenna and the late Eric Johnson. Eric was a missionary of general evolutionary theory, a whole systems theory evolving from the work of a number of 20th century scientists interested in conceptualizing a science of the all and everything. The theory offered a strategy by which to understand the structure of history through the kind of mathematical model introduced by Rene Thom. Here, my Himalayan cave illuminations could be abstracted and applied to society, to the history of consciousness and unconsciousness, and therefore the future. I've spent the last 20 years exploring a broad range of applications for these concepts, on which this book is a meditation. It offers a conceptual model for history, constructed from the mathematical tools conceived by Rene Thom and applied in the style of Eric Jantsch. Such a model may be crucial for understanding our history and as an aid in creating our future. The Chaos Revolution, Gaia Hypothesis, and Aerodynamics. During the 1970s, paradigm shifts within the sciences began to emerge into public view. Around 1973, new dynamical models were applied to turbulent fluid motions, for example, boiling water and a dripping faucet. But it was not until 1975 that these models were connected with the word chaos. The terms strange attractor and dynamical systems theory were replaced by chaotic attractor and chaos theory. The new theory swept through the sciences in a wave of renewal. The chaos revolution was underway. Journalists began calling me to ask, what is chaos theory? Does it have anything to do with chaos in ordinary life? What is the theory good for? Why are scientists so excited about it? These questions, which I could not easily answer, drove me deeply into the literature of myths and cultural history. I found that the word chaos first appeared in a book called Theogony by Hesiod, one of the early Greek poets. His poem is a creation myth telling stories of the origins of the gods. Here, the word chaos does not mean disorder. Instead, it represents as an abstract cosmic principle referring to the source of all creation. It also appears in connection with the two other fundamental concepts, Gaia, the created universe, and Eros, the creative impulse. Endowment. Eros. I was amazed to realize that this same trinity, which preceded the creation of the gods and goddesses of the usual pantheon of early Greek paganism, also called Orphism, is also associated with three revolutionary movements underway in the sciences. I was amazed to realize that this same trinity, which preceded the creation of the gods and goddesses of the usual pantheon of early Greek paganism, also called Orphism, is also associated with three revolutionary movements underway in the sciences. Bullet point 1. The Chaos Revolution was named in 1975 for a new branch of mathematics that provides models for many intrinsically irregular natural processes. 1975. Woo! The Gaia hypothesis, named in 1973, proposes a self-regulation capability of the complex system composed of Earth, ocean, atmosphere, and the living ecosystems of our planet. According to Gaia theory, which views Earth as a living system, the biosphere acts to create and maintain favorable conditions for life. Aerodynamics, named in 1989, applies dynamical systems theory to human social phenomena. What strange synchronicity? I wondered, led to three different recent innovations in the sciences in apparently independent developments, sharing a common mathematical basis, bearing names, parentheses, chaos, Gaia, Eros, and parentheses, that are associated in Hesiod's Trinity almost 3,000 years ago. In Orphic theory, three conjectures. One discovery led to another. One discovery led to another. As my trail traversed the boundaries of many disciplines, a picture or meta pattern gradually emerged. I saw the residue of suppressed themes of great antiquity emerging from the collective unconscious and forcing their way into science, the dominant religion of modern times. I call it an Orphic theory with three conjectures. Conjecture one, three phases. The meanderings of human history and prehistory during these past 25,000 years reveal a persistent pattern of cyclic recurrence in three phases associated with the three root concepts of the Orphic Trinity, Chaos, Gaia, and Eros. This pattern is recognizable today in the context of the new mathematics of space-time patterns called chaos theory. The importance of this conjecture, if true, is that it enables us to better understand our own place in time and in the natural dynamics of history. With this enhanced understanding of our past and our future, we may better face our evolutionary challenges. Conjecture two, the Orphic tradition. The three concepts of the Orphic Trinity, Chaos, Gaia, and Eros, belong to a continuous traditional flowing from the Paleolithic past to the present. Belong to a continuous tradition flowing from the Paleolithic past to present. Occasionally, one or more has been suppressed, only to surface again. The meanings of these three abstract concepts and the names, images, and genders and other aspects of their cultural representations have undergone gradual and occasionally sudden changes over the past 25,000 years. I call this irrepressible theme in our cultural history the Orphic tradition, or the long line of Orphism. Although the word Orphism usually refers to the male-centered religion of ancient Crete, Mycenae, and Greece founded by Orpheus, it has its origins in the worship of a divine mother and her divine son or lover. What I call the Orphic revival is the spontaneous upwelling of this old current after its long cultural repression. The characteristic features of this tradition are the Trinity, chaos, the creative void, source of all form, some type of divine mother of darkness. Gaia, the physical existence and living spirit of the created world, the infrastructure of nature, right? Eros, the spiritual medium connecting chaos and Gaia, the creative impulse, the faculty to have movement and to work with the different faculties of the planets, respectively. To like because when I hear Eros and when I hear other people talk about Eros, I feel like it connects to sexual energy, but that's I heard a different podcaster talk about Eros relating to sexual energy, like because like for us to evolve, we need to like that sexual energy is there, but I don't want to get off point with the book, So some secondary characteristics of this tradition include a regard for all life as sacred, sometimes manifest as vegetarianism, a high priority for peace and security, the avoidance of violence, rituals and myths focused on love, sexual laxity, a special regard for music and math. The importance of this conjecture, and pause for just, music and math, right? The importance of this conjecture, if true, is that it allows us to utilize the upwelling force of this cultural current to help us create a future society that is peaceful, maintainable, and beautiful. In fact, an Orphic utopia. I believe this kind of utopian vision is a fundamental human activity essential for our evolution. Conjecture 3. Our transformation. The chaos revolution currently underway in the sciences and the related paradigm shifts associated with the names Gaia and Eros signal a major phase shift in history. The importance of this conjecture, if it is true, is that it gives us an opportunity to end entirely the harmful repression of chaos, which may be crucial for our understanding of and harmonious coexistence with nature and the development of a peaceful global society. So I'm going to end it right there because I just kind of got to refresh. And And there was more notes that I will discuss later about Ernest. And I feel like Ernest is this, it's like low key, aside from like certain chapters and certain, you know, upheavals and ups and downs that that energy in a whole different station has had and collided with other things. I think Ernest is really about spiritual will, you know. It's the spiritual will to kind of step down onto a new place, into a foreign place. New spiritual innovation comes, quote unquote, landing in, end quote, into a place of foreigninity, right? Experiment that's just kind of isolated, doing its own thing, focused on some type of polarity or one theme. And then once a fulfilling spiritual energy of a different spiritual guard of wholeness is hidden and then revealed to a new isolated experiment, that's the essence of Ernest, spiritual will. Ernest is spiritual will. Ernest, 11th house, that 11th house dealing with a unique ancestry coming from like 11th and 12th house. There's that whole like deep ancient God dynamic mix. And from that, there's a pointies in the 11th house and there's a drama in the 11th house. And Pluto's in the 11th house. And we're seeing the restarted new year game of Aries season, the new astrological new year. Within the new astrological year of the video game, Pluto is in the 11th house. So within the 11th house, that's like the 11th house, that's like Ernest's house and Saturn's house, or some type of crux of like a deep ancient God family. And Pluto's there to reset this whole shit. So within that, like everything is gonna be like kind of like the whole system as we know it, it's gonna get rehauled, whether we like it or not, because Pluto is there in Aquarius in the 11th house. So the 11th house, that's like the order of, that's the new light order of the physical matrix. That's the 11th house. And sometimes Ernest is on and off with that, depending on just the differentiation of the surface level matrix. What is the differentiation of the surface level matrix? Different energies making different combinations in different places of time for something new to be created. And from that, there's highs and lows from that. So within the astrological new year of things, and I could do a new year report later to really dial it in later. And I could also like say like, you know, because the negentropic human design reports, they're slightly different from the new sun reports. The new sun reports are saying how the different signs are reacting towards the new moon, right? Or towards the new sun. And then the negentropic human design is just about the new moon, right? So because I've already put in the work of NHD or whatever, you know. But what I'm trying to say here is like within the deep system of things, on a different physical place in the solar system, there's a deep rehauling effect, and we're starting with that, right? Because Aries is it's the baby being born, and the baby is being born while Pluto, the house cleaner, is just barely beginning in Aquarius. So the whole new year is going to be subjected to a big rehaul. The baby is being born while a certain niche of the soul matrix is being rehauled, Pluto and Aquarius. So the baby is being born, Sun and Aries, and we're getting life force, while the whole matrix is going through a great shift in how the cosmic clock and the planetary settings are restarting everything for the upcoming new moon in Aries and the new sun in Aries, you know, March 21st or whenever Aries season really started, right? Because it's like, how is each sun sign going to react to this shit, you know? How is each sun sign going to react to the new shift? Right? So, should I do the spiritual dance commercial to conclude it? I'll just end it with a bow of respect to the predecessors. So I'm going to end it with a bow. Thank you guys.